set 36 years after the first Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Oh crap. Hello my little filmer dudes, my name is Ivan Montero and thank you for joining me on my journey to watch every movie ever created. Not really, but we are gonna get close. This is gonna be my spoiler-free review for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the sequel to the first movie titled just Beetlejuice. I'm gonna talk very vaguely, but we're not gonna talk about spoilers at all, so you're free to watch this if you haven't seen the movie. And if you have seen the movie, you'll know. You will be the if you know, you know. That'll be you and I. But truth be told, I saw the first Beetlejuice back when I was, let's see, 27? Yeah, last year in 2023 is when I first saw Beetlejuice for the Halloween, the spoopy season. Growing up, Beetlejuice was one of the movies that my very conservative parents said, hell no to. So my sister and I never saw, well, I can't speak for my sister, but I never saw it. But I do know it existed, and I knew that it was a Tim Burton project. I just had no other frame of reference. Once I saw the movie though, last year as an adult, I loved it. It's just, it's so much fun. Granted, it's not the best film ever. It's not even the best Halloween movie ever. And I don't even think it's the best Tim Burton movie ever as well. It's just a very fun, a very creative, and very Tim Burton-y movie. And honestly, there's so much to love about Beetlejuice the movie. But can the same be said about the sequel? Genuinely, both yes and no. As I said, this is a non-spoiler review, so I won't go into detail about what I did not like specifically, but there's, trust, there were a surprising number of things I simply did not enjoy from this movie. But was that enough to deter me from enjoying the movie? Absolutely not. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, despite the glaringly obvious flaws, was able to capture the exact tone and heart from the first Beetlejuice movie. I just have a hard time giving it more credit that I feel that it should get because of these flaws. But that just makes it super complicated, not just for me to review, but as a talking point as a whole, because did we really need this particular Beetlejuice 2? No, I don't think so. But like I said, it is a fun time, and I just think it could have been better.
It's good, but it can be better.
As I aforementioned, there are just things in this movie that I found gross on both a creative standpoint and a visual one, which is the point of this genre. I get that, but there's one creative choice that I would not have included at all in this movie, particularly because of Lydia's total adversity toward Beetlejuice. I actually found this choice, the scene, to be completely irresponsible and careless. No spoilers, but it is the therapist scene, and again, if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I mean. And if you've not seen the movie, then heads up. Super unethical. I could not believe that this was still in the movie. And I don't think this is one of those times where you can say, oh, wait, that's just who Beetlejuice is. He's just a perv. I don't think that's quite that simple. It was uncomfortable and immoral. And to have a scene like this that very much closely resembles real life attacks, I felt was very irresponsible. Both Lydia and Rory were victims, I feel, in this scene. More so Lydia than Rory because, again, no spoilers. The whole scene, I felt, was just not okay. It was not okay. It's a big bump, I feel, in the whole movie, which is a bittersweet moment because it is the first time you see Beetlejuice interacting with the rest of the characters, and it is a very classic Beetlejuice. I just think they took it a little too far. I'm very curious to see what y'all think. Again, I can't really go into it without spoilers, but I think I've alluded enough. And oof boy, want to know another scene that wasn't rough? Nearly the entire script. Like I said, complicated. To me, this movie is beyond overstuffed with too many subplots and characters. In fact, William Dafoe and Monica Bellucci's characters, though super fun, they are laughably underused, criminally wasted, and confusingly in the movie. There's one scene with Monica Bellucci that has the internet talking, and rightfully so. It was a very cool and very interesting scene, but when you think about her role, she's really only stay in the movie for about 6-7 minutes, and that might be a little bit hyperbolic on the negative side. She might be in a little bit more, but honestly, when you think about what she actually does in the film, I know her presence is more in the film, and I know she's sprinkled throughout the film, but honestly, she really doesn't have that much screen time. She kind of only exists to exist. Take her out of the movie, and we have the exact same movie, except without the glaringly obvious Deus Ex Machina villain. Again, laughably bad. They were onto something, I just thought it fell flat. Mainly because there's way too much going on in this movie, and I feel as if the first act kind of lingers for far too long, because the second act sort of resolves itself uncomfortably fast. The first act starts and kind of stays past its welcome, and every time Act 2 wants to do something, Act 1 kind of pushes it out of the way again and says, me again. It's almost as if the Ted Lasso meme.
Obviously, don't go and do that, please.
You do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
We can't live!
Act 2 just wants to speak, but Act 1 kind of doesn't allow it to until it does, and then everything kind of just ends, and it kind of feels like a very muddled TV series, and I genuinely think this movie should have been a TV show because it kind of feels way overstuffed. With as much subplots as there would have worked better as a TV series with a lot more time to have everything fully developed, because everything is fine. All of the subplots are fine and interesting, and I actually enjoyed each one. It just wasn't enough time to resolve each subplot naturally. Once you see the movie, you may or may not understand depending on what you value in movies. Regardless, your ADHD will be satisfied. Speaking about the ending, the third act is a little abrupt, mainly because I think there's just so much going on. Again, so much chaotic insanity in that third act, in that final battle, if you will. And you're kind of just wanting more, not because it's so good, but because there's so little of it, and you just want more. And that very Deus Ex Machina conclusion. There's a lot of Deus Ex Machina conclusions happening in that third act, and I said, I see you, Tim Burton, and two other writers whose names I can't think of at the moment. I see you. You didn't really know what to do, did you? And honestly, maybe this movie left a sour taste in my mouth because I actually didn't like the ending. I actually didn't like the fate of most of the characters, Lydia and Deliah specifically. Their fates are just, I didn't care for them. I didn't care for it. Man, let's talk about good stuff. Starting with Lydia and Deliah, Catherine O'Hara specifically. As per frickin' usual, she steals the show with her performance as Delia Dietz. Delia in the movie is friggin' hilarious. As an artist myself, I quite enjoyed seeing her gallery and watching her work. I found it quite fascinating. Winona Ryder does a very good job slipping back into her role as Lydia Dietz, but this time as a victim of trauma from Beetlejuice, something that I feel wasn't dealt with or handled at all well during this film. Despite that, I very much loved seeing Lydia as both an adult and a caring mother. She grew up, and I very much enjoyed seeing maturity and seeing caution from Lydia as a mom. And her chemistry with Jenna Ortega, who plays her daughter Astrid, played very well on screen. Speaking of Jenna Ortega, this movie really does show her range within a range. I, like everyone else, was worried that Jenna Ortega was only going to do another Wednesday, but I had a little bit of faith. I knew she was going to do something different, and different she did. Honestly, I want more of Astrid. I would not mind seeing a Beetlejuice 3 with Lydia and Astrid. And of course, Catherine O'Hara's Delia Dietz. And ooh boy, is this movie pretty. Very Tim Burton indeed. And for dark comedy, this movie has a lot of color. And it's not just color here, color there. We're gonna do a lot of colors. It's a nice, very nice color palette. I appreciate all of the type of the designers who worked on putting this film together, because dang, the visuals are truly stunning, and a lot of it is the color palette of this film. And we have a mixture of styles throughout as well, with a mixture of practical effects and CGI. But for the most part, all of the ghosts and all of the set pieces were pretty much mostly all there, which I super appreciate. But damn, Delia, black tulle all over the Maitland house. Listen, I don't know the dimensions of this house, but this is one tall house, and to get the fabric tulle to flow all the way down and all over around that house, that's a couple $100. That's a couple 100 feet right there. So I mean, I don't know. It's definitely not $1,000. I would think not. A tool is not necessarily expensive, but that's a lot. And knowing Deliah, she probably got the expensive kind. Deliah does not play when it comes to her art. But for real, honestly, is that where the budget went? I mean, a lot of the budget went into the production side, into the physical production side. But oh my God, that would make sense. So, sequelitis or not? I say a bit of both. On the one hand, this movie does not fall into the trap of redoing the first movie but with new, or rather older skin. But Beetlejuice Beetlejuice sort of stands on its own with its own new story and new lore that it adds to the existing lore of this universe. For that, I do commend it. It's just muddy at times, and the story has a mega problems causing this movie to have multiple lulls throughout. But once the fun picks up, it really picks up. Yet in the end, the movie really does feel like a middle chapter of an overarching story, which could mean Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 3. In the realm, or rather weird phase of legacy sequels, I do think Beetlejuice Beetlejuice holds up, but not quite to the level of its predecessor, and not even quite to the level of other legacy sequels. I just have to give it a take. If you're gonna watch Beetlejuice 1 over Beetlejuice 2, very much so, almost 9 times out of 10, people are gonna choose Beetlejuice over Beetlejuice 2. Not saying that Beetlejuice 2 is bad, I'm just saying that Beetlejuice 1 is a far superior film. But now that Beetlejuice 2 exists, come Halloween season, it might be fun to do a Beetlejuice 2 sequel. Play number 1, play number 2 back to back, have some snack, have some Halloween snacks and candy, and make it a time. Make it a good, grand old Beetlejuice time. Personally, I would give this a 7.9. However, I did watch this with someone and he gave it an 8.5. So combining my critic score and his audience score, I give you our rating, combined rating of an 8.2 out of 10, which I do feel is appropriate for this movie given what it's currently doing in the box office. But that is it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Did you see this movie? Did you not see this movie? Are you planning to see this movie? Are you gonna wait until Halloween? I do think it is a movie worth seeing in the movie theaters, if that helps you. My social media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.